Folks, nice to be here. Hope you had a good time. On behalf of K&I, we'd like to thank you all for being able to be here today for Nicola and James's special day. Cyprus is not exactly round the corner from where we all presently live, but well worth the time, effort and expense we have all been able and willing to give to enjoy this wedding. Nicola, you look beautiful, just as always, and James, you scrub up well too. Thank you as well to all the bridesmaids for their extra efforts. You two look great today. You've all worked very hard and you've all been very patient. Thank you. Nicola, this wedding, as the hen night was, has been planned with military precision. And we all know how much effort has gone into what has been a memorable day for everybody. I shall leave the longer speeches to Ian, the best man, and obviously the groom, who will enlighten you to more interesting elements of how we've all ended up here today. A special message of congratulations from Nana, my mum, in Vancouver, who we'll see you in a couple of weeks for the next big party. And also Kim, Tracy and their families. They all send the love. Hope everyone has enjoyed this relatively hot Ayia Napa so far and wish you a fantastic end to your holiday. I'm sure there will be a few more late nights out and mentioning no names, spectacular hangovers. Please raise your glasses to those people who aren't able to share this day for whatever reasons they can't be here. Our thoughts go out to them. Friends and family at home, we will have to take plenty of pictures to take home or forward on via the usual electronic way. Thanks again for your support for James and Nicola, and give them all the best wishes and good luck for the future. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Al. Nice one. Many thanks. And thanks for those kind words, Al, and thanks to you and Kay for all your help, because we couldn't have done this without you. Hello, everyone. I've been waiting a long time to say this, so I'm just going to come straight out with it. On behalf of my wife and I, welcome to our wedding and to Nissi Beach. My wife. Sounds pretty good. It might take a while to sink in though, I think, possibly. The online speech guides say always start with a reference to your bride looking lovely. Well, clearly lovely doesn't even come close to cutting it with you, Nick. You always look beautiful, whatever time of day or night it is, even in that onesie of yours. And but this time you've completely outdone yourself. When you walked down that aisle today, I mean, well, you saw the reaction. But yeah, blew me away completely. I've never seen you looking as stunning as you do today, and trust me, I'm well aware of how much I'm punching above my weight here. So on behalf of both of us anyway, we really can't thank you enough for making the effort to be here. It's traditional, of course, that grooms thank their guests, but the fact that so many of you are prepared to come all this way to join us in these amazing surroundings really is quite special. So thank you very much indeed. As Al touched on, unfortunately it's not been possible to have everyone we love here today, but we know they're with us in spirit, and they're not only in our thoughts, but more importantly, they're with us in our hearts. So to Nick's grandparents, Alec and Jackie, Grandma and Grandad Horton, and to my Nana Jackie and Grandad Bernard, to name but a few, can I ask all our guests to join with Nick and I standing to toast those who are gone but not forgotten. So gone but not forgotten. Cheers. Oh dear. Let's find another bit. So there'll be a few more toasts, so I hope you're keeping those glasses charged. A few years ago, upon hearing her younger sister was about to be taken away to Wales with a stranger in a caravan, Liz invited me over to hers and Joe's beautiful home for Jay's first birthday, where I could get to pretty much meet all of the Horton and McNicholas family. I remember right from the word go, you all made such an effort to make what could have been really quite daunting at the time totally relaxed and to make me feel really welcome. So I thank you for that and for continuing it on ever since. I feel really privileged to be part of such a close family unit, and it really doesn't come much closer than ours with us living right next door. As some of you know, Liz, Joe and the kids are about to relocate to New Zealand, where they'll start an exciting new chapter of their lives. So guys, you know our little corner of the street won't be the same without you. We're going to miss you massively, but we'd like to both take this opportunity to wish you nothing but happiness out there. We're not the only ones celebrating on this holiday. Well, there's quite a few celebrations actually. But if you don't know, Kay and Alan are marking their 35th anniversary this week. Woo! Your story is truly inspirational. I'm sure they'll happily tell you all about it if you ask, but the bit I always find most amazing is the fact that it was the best part of a year, wasn't it, that you kept in touch almost entirely by letters, which is just quite incredible. Alan and Kay, since I met Nick, I've always looked forward to coming around to see you both, or you popping in on Saturday afternoon for a beer and a glass of wine or whatever, and I couldn't have asked for nicer in-laws. Thanks for all your love, your support, DIY skills, leftover cakes from the shop, and of course for allowing me to marry your beautiful daughter. I'm pretty sure you know by now, but just in case, I love this girl with all of my heart, and I'll do everything I can to make her happy. I won't be letting her down. A toast to Kay and Alan for those 35 years, I think. 35 years. Oh, dear. Crystals everywhere. I've got some pretty special people on my side too. I've been fortunate enough to grow up with two of the best role models I could ask for in Mum and Dad. Mum, I know you weren't able to make it here today, but we're all thinking of you, and as far as I'm concerned, you're here by the magic of technology and the paparazzi we have to join us. Between you, you've given me the priceless gift of security, stability and love growing up, and you've always been there on the many occasions that Mel and I have needed you. If I can do half as good a job at being parents as you both have, I will consider myself a complete success. I love you both very much, and without both sets of parents, today really wouldn't have been possible, so thanks from the bottom of our hearts and from both of us. I couldn't possibly leave out my little sister, Mel, and hubby Sal, who we're absolutely chuffed to have all the way from Mexico. Thanks for everything you've done from us, Mel. The list just goes on really, but I know Mel's is just as pleased to gain a sister-in-law as I was when Sal came on board. And this is made obvious now by the fact that when we have a typical phone call between Mel and I, it tends to go, "Hi, broski, is Nick there?" So she just ain't so interested in talking to me anymore, really. It's tradition also, obviously, to thank the bridesmaids, but I should be telling you how great you've made the day and how good the hen do was and all that sort of stuff. But you guys are just about way more than that, and I think you probably know it. I think you can learn a lot about a person by their friends, and I've never known a group of girls like you lot. Absolutely no silliness, massive amounts of love for each other, and every one of you is just a great character. Together, you're a real force to be reckoned with, and I'm really glad you got Nick's back, even if she's actually the one you're scared of mostly. In no particular order, Lee, we've got my worthy apprentice DJ. No Nick the longest, hiding at the back there. Yeah. No Nick the longest. How long is it exactly? 24 years. She's also a provider of all sorts of useful general knowledge information that nobody ever quite knows about, enough about to challenge, but that we're convinced you just make up to mess with us, really, to be honest. Farah, aka Wifey, Nick's nemesis from back in the school days, who then turned into one of our closest friends in the world. And a quality MC, I should add, so you'll be getting this later on. Nat, I think you're actually the first of the friends I got to meet when you loaned us your caravan for that weekend. That weekend in Anglesey as our first holiday together, and I think that leaking chemical toilet was a special moment between us. Carly, also been there for absolutely yonks, and we love having you, Jordan, the boys around the corner, and thanks for making me feel so welcome in your group. Hales, aka Wifey number 2. Where's Hales? Oh, actually. All right, cool. Hello. You're just brilliant. A fellow midwife. If anyone gets a chance and they're both in earshot, you've got to try this. Ask them about the pros and cons of natural versus medical birthing techniques, and then just stand well back for about half an hour. And out of the bridesmaids, we've then got Faithy Boo. So she's basically in charge of all this lot, and she's gone and turned up prettier than everyone today. I have to admit, there was a time actually when I wasn't really sure about this whole marriage malarkey, and living in my flat with only a mountain bike to get around and questionable cleaning standards, and also a driving simulator in the front room, I'd possibly got to that stage where that had been taken out of my hands. Fortunately, something pretty magical happened 3 years ago. I was invited on the same night out in Manchester as Nick by my mutual friends. And we all met at my friend Tim's, who lived a few doors down from me at the time. And I remember when I walked in and first set eyes on you, all dolled up, and just thought, wow, where have you been hiding exactly? We got talking, but my chat-up skills are pretty rubbish. So we got to the local Hawaiian cocktail bar, and my approach was pretty much just ply her with alcohol and hope she doesn't know I've only got 2 dance moves, and they're both from the 90s. By some miracle, this seems to have had the desired effect, and I'll never forget that moment. I think you know the one where you came bopping over to me with that giant zombie, that pint of zombie cocktail, on fire, umbrellas sticking out, nearly burning your eyebrows off. And you just looked at me with those brown sparkling eyes and just kind of said, gave me a little cheeky smile and just kind of said, yeah, I might like you too. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, I asked Nick out for a proper dinner date, and we just clicked straight away, chatting and giggling until chucking out time. It just felt so right. And I remember the next day calling Mel's and telling her I thought I'd found someone really special. The next day, though, Nick played the ultimate hard-to-get game and disappeared off for a week for a girly holiday to Cos with Hales. While I'd miss her, it did give me a much-needed opportunity to get familiar with the Mr. Muscle, and thanks to Mum, even a chance to discover the delights of potpourri in a bid to make my flat female-friendly, just in case that second date was to happen. As you probably guessed, that second one did happen, and ever since, life just keeps getting better. I now get to live in a beautiful house with my super hot best friend. There are a couple of notable differences to life, such as the fact I now drink brews, not cups of tea, to the constant amusement of my groom's party. I now know there aren't any limits to the number of heart-shaped objects you can fit in one household. And my TV time is split between Formula 1 and One Born every minute. Which will quite happily, Nick will quite happily go and do an 8-hour shift on the birth centre and then come home and watch One Born every minute with me. But that's just because you're passionate about what you do, and there's a reason you're so good at looking after those ladies of yours, and it's because you're an incredibly special person. You're so strong in the high pressure situations when you need to be, and I love that no-nonsense attitude of yours, but you're also loving, caring, thoughtful, understanding, and just completely genuine at all times. Nick, I've never felt this certain about anything in my life, and I'm pinching myself that you're now my wife. When I turn over each morning and see it's you next to me, it never fails to put a big smile on my face, and when I go to sleep, it's exactly the same. Every day is made better by having you in it, and I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I love being part of this team, and I can't wait to continue our life together with you finally a Steely. I think that's kind of it, and it's almost over to the best man. Before we all hit the dance floor, I'm going to hand over to Ian, who has pretty much known me since I could walk. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done today, putting my nerves at rest this morning, for instance. I don't want to thank you too much, because I know what's about to come, so I could tell you what he's going to say, will all be lies, but he's got more than 30 years of ammunition, so I'm just basically pretty screwed. Just before I hand over, I know we did sing Happy Birthday earlier on, but there is one final toast, and that's to my godfather Keith, who's celebrating his 60th birthday, and that's today. Happy birthday, Keith! Cheers. Right, it's over to Ian then. Do your worst, mate.
Can everyone hear me?
Practice, I was right.
Good. So, you're right there. This is just pretty short and sweet, but this is something from me and all the bridesmaids. And I didn't ask everybody if everybody wants to do it, but as usual, I got nominated. So, composure, I would say. Be loud, never. Okay. To the most beautiful bride on this glorious day, here's a little poem with a few things we'd like to say. We are honoured and privileged to share this occasion with you. It's particularly special after all we've been through. We came into your life at different times, each one of us so lucky to have you on our side. We've shared laughs and tears, tantrums and fears, but nothing we couldn't face without the wonderful Mrs. Steele to guide us to the right place. We're so blessed to have a friend so loyal and true, always there to make you smile, no matter how much you're feeling blue. You're funny and you're feisty, and you always have a plan. And everyone has to follow, especially James now, because he's officially your man.
Yeah.
And now we're here to celebrate your perfect day. Such a stunning bride, wouldn't you all say?
Yeah.
No one deserves this more than you. Let love carry you forward in the arms of the one so true. We love you so much, Nick. Enjoy every minute of this day. And if you ever need anything, your girlies will always be on their way. We love you.
Thanks, Barra. James, you're a hard man to follow. That was a good speech. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a nice time. I've known James pretty much his whole life. We grew up together, we grew up next door to each other, and 30-something years later, here we are in these amazing surroundings. One of the hardest things to get my head round when James asked me to be his best man was, how on earth do you get 30 odd years of material into about 10 minutes or so? So I didn't. So you better all be sitting comfortably for the next 3 hours. I didn't think I'd be in any way nervous doing this speech, but let's just say this is at least the 4th time today I've got up from a warm seat with pieces of paper in my hand. So anyway,
It's just pennies dropping around.
I'll give you a second for that one, alright? So anyway, the 15th of May 1980. It was a Thursday that saw the first trans-US balloon crossing in a week where West Ham beat Arsenal 1-0 in the FA Cup final, and Johnny Logan knocked Dex's Midnight Runners off the top 40 number 1. All completely eclipsed by the birth of James Bradley Steele then. And I'm sure you'll agree that it's changed all of our lives for the better. As kids, we used to hang out a lot round each other's houses, and it was many a day of will Optimus Prime defeat the Decepticons, or shall we do a 5-bricker ramp on the BMX? At an early age, we both discovered a love of cars. If it was dry outside, we'd be pushing the ride-on cars to the limit, which I guess kind of was a key for things to come. One of those was, I think it was a Ligier race car. David could probably back me up on that a little bit. And the other one was a police car, but we'll come back to that a little bit later on. On a wet day, it was Scalextric, and not happy with the highly educated men and women that designed these tracks, we always thought we could do a lot better. So whether it was banking the curves for, optimum turning, or whether it was trying to create that impossible jump that it then took Scalextric 20 years to actually make one. Those moments, though, certainly for me, and I'm sure James will agree, are just everlasting memories. James had another passion when he was quite little, and that was watching Snook the Ball on TV. 15 reds, 6 colours, and a white ball, known to most other people as snooker. We had one in our house, and it provided many hours of entertainment. These days, it's just replaced by Candy Crush. As we got older, communication progressed from talking over the fence to £2 intercoms from a car boot sale. And I'll come back to car boot sales later on as well.
That's all right, that's all right.
You see where I'm going?
I know where you're going, mate, I know.
There were no smartphones back then, and I'm still trying to get James into the 21st century and trying to get him to get an iPhone. Which is ironic, really, because he was always the technical one. Anyway, our version of Facebook over the fence and Twittercom worked for us. James moved on to CB radios and massive aerials, which was good fun at the time. The only problem with this was that every single time James pressed that microphone button, my parents' TV reception declined massively. I can still hear my dad saying, "Would James turn that CB thing off?" or words to that effect, but there was probably a lot more in that sentence. But it's been many years, I forget a little bit. While we always had a passion for four wheels, we had to make do with two for many years. It was not quite the motocross bikes in the ghetto that Cliff was used to, but we loved those pedalling years anyway, terrorising all those old people off of our pavements. And of course, trying to beat the round-the-block lap time.
Oh, mate.
In amongst all the growing up, there was the world of motorsport. Most kids just get to see it on TV, but I was fortunate enough to go. So at this point, I'd like to say an extremely big thanks to David, because he was the one that made this all happen.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Thanks, David. All those wonderful, sunburnt, wet, cold, scorching, windy and tiring experiences. And that was just an afternoon at Brands. The seed was sown though, and we both love it now more than ever. We go as often as we can: Alton Park, Brands Hatch, Le Mans, and most recently Spa for James's stag do, which wasn't a conventional stag do, but was probably the best one I've ever been on because it involved motorsport. And you probably all know how much we love it. We also now have our own little apprentice in Ben, and he tends to come with us anywhere, anytime he can. He loves it as much as we did then, and at 8 years old, he's an encyclopedia of motorsport knowledge. So keep it up, Ben. We took part as often as we could as well. Karting was an amazing experience as a child. There was never more than a couple of tenths of a second between our lap times, and he still can't beat me. One day, mate, maybe, when I get old.
Yeah.
No matter how much it looked like Lewis and Nico or Senna and Prost on the track, we were truly the best of mates afterwards. Moving on a few years, and the possibility of driving a four-wheeled motor car was getting ever closer. With the 3-year age gap, I was first, and there was many an evening sat in the blue 1.3 Austin Metro listening to 90s classics like You Sure Do and Rhythm Is a Dancer. I know what you're all thinking: 1.3 Metro, Babe Magnet. But 3 years later, James stole the show in spectacular style, getting a lime green Austin Montego. Street cred. I can see it all in you. It became legendary around High Wycombe. It was no secret that James loved doing burnouts, donuts, handbrakes, power sliding, or any other thing that you're not supposed to do in your driving test. And it was certainly no secret when he brought David's Vectra home with no rubber left on the tyres. Bovingdon Market set in an airfield. All James could do was argue that those soft Pirellis were only really good for one hot lap of the airfield before they completely fell apart. I think that ended his days of driving David's car. So I said I'd come back to car boot sales. Most people go there to buy other people's tap and put it in their own loft. James, however, sees it as a big open expanse of usually wet grass. What better than to try a few handbrake turns in all of his cars that he's ever owned, ever. James can be found ignoring the parking stewards, attempting to stop him. But the only thing better was doing it in a hire car. And I'll come back to that one later as well. I've touched on being older than James, and this had many theoretical advantages for him. I mean, if I wasn't such a responsible adult, I could have bought him alcohol or got him into pubs and clubs, or potentially been his get out of jail free card. I told you I'd come back to the police car. I mean, if you're a minor and you do something wrong, what better than to have an over 18 mate to bail you out? I mean, say you did something wrong in a cinema, for example, and the police were called, and you get your phone call your best mate. The only problem with this is, if you're going to do something wrong, don't do it on a Friday night after midnight when your over 18 mate is not exactly going to be sitting around watching Mrs. Doubtfire and drinking cocoa. Fortunately, your over 18 mate has got some pretty cool parents who were called to bail you out so that your parents wouldn't find out. At least until your wedding day, anyway. Thanks, Dad. I know. Moving on again, anyway, James decided to pursue a career in Manchester's dizzy heights. Something he was well used to, as we all thought he must have struggled for air every time he stood up. I visited on a regular basis, and I did it so often it became a time trial, to be honest. And if anyone wants to know how quickly it is possible to do High Wycombe to Manchester, come and see me later, because I've got parents and wife and stuff like that. You know, so. We had some amazing times in Manchester, and although I missed him, it just made those times more memorable.
Yeah, cool.
It was Bamford in Rochdale where he decided to settle down with the lovely Nicola. And as a family, we go and see them as much as possible, and we thoroughly enjoy it. And also seeing Alan and Kay and Liz and Joe and Faith and Jagan. It's been brilliant, and we love you all. David and Beverly are also nearby, and Mel and Sal are only ever a Skype call away. It's always such fun going there, and who knows, maybe in the future we'll be neighbours again.
Sort out.
So, James met Nicola, and this is where I've got to come back to the hire car. James is like a kid in a sweet shop with a hire car, and so what better than to try and impress Nicola with his amazing car control on a wet, sandy beach. James thought he could recreate a Top Gear special, but instead he got himself well and truly stuck. James being James, though, had it all under control. I know, full power, loads of turning, I'll get out of here. Anyway, it was the AA that eventually got him out. And even if Nicola was not impressed, it was clearly love, as we're here today.
too late now.
I'd just like to quickly touch on the engagement in Egypt and the wedding in Cyprus. Obviously both amazing venues. And if you ever decide to have any sort of birthdays or christenings anywhere else exotic, we'll be quite happy to come along. So on a more serious note, can we all just agree on how beautiful Nicola looks today and what an amazing couple these two make? Thank you. The bridesmaids look amazing, especially the little one over there. Faith, give her a big hand. And my little buddy Jagan for helping me with the rings. James and Nicola make a wonderful couple, and let's hope the future brings you all the happiness you deserve. Remember, there might be good times and bad, but just make sure that all your ups and downs and ins and outs remain firmly between the sheets. All that's left for me to say is it's not often at 37 you can say you've had a mate for well over 30 years and had an amazing friendship, but I have, and I've been lucky with that. And the rest of it, I'm just going to wing it. So, James, you've been amazing. You've been a great friend. Your whole family's been great, and now you've got an extended family, which we love very much. You've always been there for me, and I'd like to think I'm always there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And now Nicola's part of your life, and therefore you're now my new best friend as well. So I'd just like you all to raise your glasses. And can we have a toast to the new Mr. and Mrs. Steele, please? Okay.
Excellent. Excellent.